What is going on, guys? I am coming back at you with another tracker, this time a monthly budget tracker. Stepping away from portfolio trackers for a second because I think it's just as important to track how much money you're spending and how much money you're making from maybe your job or an income and even your savings, right? So savings, yes, you could include investing, but then also just a savings account as well. If you're tracking your portfolio, you should be tracking the rest of your money as well. It only makes sense. And I got this awesome budget tracker, monthly budget tracker for you. You can see right here. Let's start up here. Starting balance shows how much money I have in my bank account at the beginning of the month. Then we go over here. This shows how much I have at the end of the month. Our monthly spendings. You can see where all of my money is going to. A lot of it's going to food. A lot of it's going to rent. But I like to see my entertainment, other personal, that I like to see down. I like to see that my debt isn't one of my biggest expenses. If you have debt that's really big, that should be your first goal. Tackle that. And then this is pretty cool. You got your increase in total checkings, your how much money you saved this month. We scroll down, and then you have your planned going across the top, and then your actual, which is very cool. So you can see what's your planned expenses. Are you above or below budget? What's your planned income? Are you above or below? And then what's your planned savings? Are you above or below? Then everything's broken down into these three columns. And where's all this data coming from? It is coming from transactions. We got our expenses, our income, and our savings. If you add to this, so let's make a crazy number. Say $5,000 to a restaurant. Took all my friends and family out. It was a huge expense, right? You can see how everything updates. So starting balance, ending balance is completely depleted as took all my money out that night. Food is now through the roof. So all this is dynamic. You can see this would not look ugly at all. I'd be spending a lot of money. And you can even see right here, expenses, your actual went up. So everything is dynamic. Everything changes. Even down here, food, you can see that I'm way over budget for the month. But let's get rid of that. I would not spend $5,000 in a night for food. So how do we make this? I'm going to walk you by step, and this might look familiar to a couple of you. And that's because this is a template, or at least kind of a template on Google Sheets. But then I modified it because they were missing one big chunk of it that I think is super important. But this is what you're going to do. You're going to go to Google, right? And you're going to click on the little Google Apps. You're going to scroll down to Google Sheets. You're going to click on that. And then you're going to have the templates up at the top, right? Look at that. Monthly budget. Looks pretty similar. And if you don't see it up here, go to Template Gallery. And it should be one of the very first ones. You can see you have annual budget, monthly budget. Let's click on monthly budget. It's right there. Now you may think, great, I'm done. I made it. But this looks a little different than mine. And the one thing that they're missing, they have expenses and income. They do not have savings in this. I have a savings section, so I could see the money going into my TD Ameritrade account, my Yada savings account, and my Robinhood account. I think that's super important, including your savings, because guys, we are not in the rat race where we live paycheck to paycheck, and this is the only two things we care about. The whole point of my channel is about investing and investing in stocks. So I think it is a huge miss on Google's part not including the savings section. So I'm going to show you how to take this beautiful tracker. Don't get me wrong. I think this is beautifully laid out. I can't make something that looks nicer than this. I'll give Google that. Whoever made this, props to you. But you're missing that big chunk. And guys, before we even get started, if you don't have the time to build this out, because of course this is going to be another lengthy video, maybe 20 or 30 minutes, you could go to my Patreon and you can download all of this. I have all of my trackers on my Patreon. I just kind of want to put that out there. I'm not trying to promote it. I'm just letting you know it's there. Links in the description. Done talking about that. Guys, before we even get started, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Really helps the algo for more people to find my content so they could get more organized with their finances. Let's dive right in. So what we want to do first is we're going to need some extra rows, and we're going to have to do some copy and pasting here, some shifting around. It's not going to be the prettiest to get it done, but just bear with me. First thing, if you want to keep this at the top, go for it. You can see in mine, I did not. I got rid of it. That's personal preference. Keep it if you want. I'm going to get rid of it. So we're going to delete that. And I'm going to delete the text. So there we go. That's step one. Now what we want to do is we need to add to this. So I'm actually going to highlight all of this. H to M. I'm going to go Control C, right? Or not even. I'm going to right click, insert 6 to the right. It's going to pop up with this, right? Because it doesn't want you to make any kind of accidental changes. So don't show this again for 5 minutes. We can even turn that off if you want. But now we have 5 more to the right. So now we have more real estate to work with, okay? So what we could do is highlight all of these again and go at the very end of S and just bring it out a little bit, maybe around there. That just kind of brings all of them out a little. So again, we have more room to work with here. And the first thing, which is kind of annoying, but we're gonna have to move this. This one in mine, I actually have it over here. So what we want to do is highlight all, hit Control X, that's cut, okay? And we're going to go to N. We want to go right here, which is N7. Hit Control V, and it moves it. And more importantly, it moves the functions as well, and they update accordingly. So that's super important. You want that. So the functions move with it, and now there's nothing in here, so this is all free space for us to use. We'll get to exactly how we want to put everything in a little bit. But the next thing we want to move is right here, our starting balance, because now it's in a weird spot. Hit Control X again. And what we want to do, the first thing, I want to keep it on this line, but I'm going to go to P and Q, PQ4. I'm going to merge. I want to merge those. And then once you merge, hit Control V. And there we go. Now our starting balance is off into a spot that looks a lot better, at least in my opinion. So we're kind of getting there. The next thing that we want to do is we're going to need to create the next section, which is going to be savings. And it's pretty simple again. It's going to be, you're going to highlight all of this. So Control Copy. You're not doing Control X this time. So Control C. And you want to put it in N16. So N16. So be in that cell, hit Control V. There we go. Now income is moved over there. We're kind of getting there. We're kind of putting this together. We're going to work down here for a little bit now because we want to change our income to savings. So you can click on here, and it's pretty simple. Just type in savings, hit enter. That's all set. Go to the income down here, do the same thing. Savings. And if you want to name this investing, do whatever you want. Saving, investing, it's all the same. All right, so what we want to do now is you're going to go over here again. And where we copy and pasted everything, we got to see this. It says H25, and H25, as you can see, is over here. So that's the one thing that's annoying. The copy and paste works most of the time. This, we do have to do some changing, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So what we need to do is just kind of change all of these. Instead of H25, go to your actual, this one right here, I'm on Q24. Click on it, and instead of H, we want N. It's going to be, you can see right here, it's on the N. So we want to go up here, and instead of H, we're going to type in N. So it should be $N24. And that means follow this along. You see where this says J? We don't want J. We're going to also want N. So N, change that to N. And you're going to realize it's black, and there's a reason why. That's okay. We kind of want it to be black right now. Change that to N. Keep scrolling all the way to this H and change the H to M. And again, it's going to be black. That's okay. You're going to hit enter. It should say 0. That's because now, before we even, well, we'll stick with this. So you have this, and what we want to do is scroll down with it. Again, you're going to, don't show for 5 minutes, hit OK, because we're going to keep on messing around with it. Now you can see this updates it to how it's supposed to say. So you can see all of them now say N. Now we could jump over to the difference section, D, and it's going to be very similar. We are going to change the H. This one's actually even easier. Change the H to N, hit enter. Click on this and, click on this and drag it down. So then it updates all of these cells. So all the cells should say N now. And just make sure that this says R, which is good. I'll make sure this says Q and that says P, which it does. So good. We're kind of going in the right direction now. We kind of have what we need set up here. But what we need to do now is jump over to transactions. So we're going to click on transactions. And we essentially want to copy all of this like we did before. So copy all of this, hit not Control C, Control V. What you want to do is go up here, right click, insert 5 to the right. So you have those 5 cells. We could open these cells up a little by going like that. That might be a little too much, but we'll fix that in a second. Now you want to copy and paste. So I'm going to copy these G through J. Hit Control C. Do that. You go to L, hit Control V. It pastes that in there. See that this is no longer blue. The reason why is because this isn't merged. So you can just kind of highlight it all, merge it, and that should fix it. Okay? So that's good. Now we want to change income to savings, obviously, because this is going to be our savings section. So savings, hit enter. All right. And then this should be good here. Just move this over a little bit. Yeah, so that's all good. We're going to be changing this in a little bit. But now what you might want to do, because I don't like how I have to scroll, so I'm just going to kind of reduce some of this. So the description, I'm going to bring in a little bit. A, I'm actually going to bring in a little bit. F, I will bring in a little bit. Bring K in. Pretty much I just want to get this all on the screen. Could bring this description in. So I'm just kind of tightening everything up here. I could bring the dates in as well. All right, and that's good enough. That pretty much allows me to see everything now. So now that I can see everything, for expenses, what you want to do is now put in what we want. So you're wondering, okay, what do we got? Food, gifts, health, home. Maybe none of this applies to you, right? Maybe you don't have a pet. Maybe you don't have health insurance because you still live with your parents, or your significant other has it, your spouse, whatever it might be. Or maybe there's something in here that you don't see that you want to add in here. Same with paychecks. Maybe you have a side hustle or something and you want to add that into this. Then obviously we need to change this into savings. So that's not right at all. So where do we go about fixing this? Well, now we jump back to summary, and it's going to be all of this. It's pulling from these tabs. This is where we're getting all the drop downs. It's from these. So if we go in the income one and change savings to how about test and hit enter, we go back to transactions. And then if we go to the drop down, look at that, test. So you can see that's where it's coming in from. Now, your income and expense is good, but because we made savings into a new thing, we're going to have to adjust that. So what we actually need to do, we need to first see where this is coming from. It's going to be N24 down to N29. So what you want to actually do is highlight all of this, right click. Kind of hard to see because it's all the way off to the right. But you want to go down to data validation, all the way down here. Click on data validation. See how it says summary H and I? We don't want that. We want our range. If we actually click on this, jump over to summary. Now that we have this here, we could delete that. This is what we want. So we just want to highlight that. So see, now it's going to say summary N24 to O29. Hit OK. Hit save. And now if we change this, we'll change this to test 2. Hit enter. And let's see what that looks like. Let's click on this. There we go, test 2. So now that is set up. So what you could do from here is put in what applies to you. See, look, you got category 1, 2, and 3. You know, what is that? Well, this is Google Sheets trying to tell you, put in what you want. Put in what's going to apply to you. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy and paste from what I have here. So I'm actually going to copy both because here is my plan. So I hit Control C and then go here, Control V. Go back, highlight all of this, Control C, Control V, and then last one, you got these three, Control C, Control V. Now, these are irrelevant to me, so I'm actually going to delete them. So you can delete them just like that. Let's see, other, I'm going to keep, I keep other. Here, I'm going to delete up to other. So there you go. Now I have everything in here that I need. Let's get rid of that border. I don't know why there's a border. Okay, now that everything's kind of like looking nice and clean to me, what we can do now at this point is we could figure out what we want our planned and actuals to be. So again, mine's already in here, but this is when you really need to go through and figure out, okay, how much am I spending on rent or mortgage? How much do I want to spend on transportation, debt, insurance, food, personal, whatever applies to you. Some of these will be variable. Rent for me should always be what it is. Same with, same with insurance. That really shouldn't change that much. Exercise, I include the gym and then maybe protein powder. So that could fluctuate. Obviously, entertainment and other will be the biggest ones to fluctuate. All of income, unless you get, paid check, a steady paycheck, you may have a lot of stuff that will change. Maybe you're getting bonuses. You want to add that in. And then for your savings, whatever it is, I have my goals for the month, how much I want to try to save each month. And my goal is always to beat that. So I have that all in as well. Now for the transactions, I'm going to copy and paste again because it'll be silly for you guys to just watch me input all of this. But here is all of my transactions. So I'm going to hit Control C, go over here, Control V. So that's all in. Then go over here, Control C, Control V. And right here, Control C and Control V. And actually, what I did here, let me just do this. I got rid of description in savings, so we can delete that. I think it's pretty irrelevant. I don't need the description in savings because I kind of know what's going on. I think the description's kind of cool here because you can see, okay, what's transportation? Oh, well, it's car lease payment. Okay. Another transportation tab. Well, that was gas. To me, I want to kind of clump that together because that's part of my transportation cost. And you can see we have an invalid input. We can see what's going on here. I don't know why. Maybe it's some kind of glitch, but it looks like I just gotta, anything that has little error, I just need to click on it with the actual data validation. See, if you go and type in just something and hit enter, you're gonna have that red arrow. It's because it's nothing that's within this. So if you have the red arrows, make sure everything's spelt right. So TD Ameritrade, yada. There we go. So now all of that is in for me. If we jump back to summary, you can see all this is starting to fill out nicely. And what is really nice is I don't have to worry about fixing expenses or income. These fields should be correct. Just double check. Again, your plan is just pulling from everything you put here. So that's already filled out for you. That's just summing all of that. And then that is connected to this, see D22, which is right here, D22. And then this, you can see it's taking your spark line C17. So where's C17? It's this price. And then it's making your max and min C17 to C18. So it's taking these two and figuring out, all right, which one's the max and min? Well, this one's the min, this one's the max. And then it's making it look all nice with the chart. So income is going to be the same thing. We don't have to worry about changing any of this. Again, just double check to make sure everything looks right. Everything here does look right for me. Then we get to savings. You can see savings, actual says 0. Well, how come? Q22, where is Q? Q is pulling from actual. How come none of this is pulling? Oh, and you know what? That's because I made the mistake of telling you guys to put this in a little earlier. you could see right here transactions is still black. We don't want this to be black. We want this to be we want this to light up with color. So how are we gonna do this? Well, we want R and Q. So what you want to do is we're in the actual tab. So that's Q24, where it says transactions are. If we just kind of delete that, and then if we go to our transaction section, and if we go to, we want this to be transactions N. Okay, so we're gonna hit enter, hit OK, and then Q, we don't want Q. So you could highlight all of that. Guys, I don't know where I even got R and Q. So go to transactions and then go to M. But this is kind of good. At least you know how to troubleshoot stuff. When something's not working, this could be why. And look at that. Now it's there, right? Now you're wondering, oh, how come we don't have these two filled out? Well, that's because it's still R and Q and it's black. We don't want it to be that right now. We want it to be colored, right? We want it, what colors do we want? We want it to be colored purple and colored blue. So how do we do that? We just drag that down, hit that, hit OK, and look at that. Now it is changed. So now you know, okay, great. They have their proper colors. Everything's right. So difference looks to be right as well. And look at that. Actual is now in place. So that's actually correct. Just double check that it is. See how it says we're pulling from O on the actual? That's what we want. And then you could also check this, just double checking your work, making sure, maybe this isn't O, maybe this is still pulling I, right? If your savings plan is pulling from I, it's going to be the same as your income. You don't want that. So it's always good to know how to check to make sure everything is right, all the functions are working properly. Now we're almost done, guys. I mean, I've definitely put out a lot harder stuff than this. This really isn't that bad. We have all of our transactions, right? We have our summary down here. Last thing is getting that chart up here. Actually, I lied. There's a couple more things. So you can see our start balance, right? So change your start balance to whatever. I think I had mine 3,451. So that's my start balance, but look at this. End balance says 7,000. That's not correct at all. My end balance is, if we jump back to the original one that I had, it's 5,169. So where am I getting this 7,000 from? Well, it's not accounting savings. So what I want to have it as D13. So what's D13? That's our starting balance. So we want D13 plus, and then in parentheses, we want I18 minus C18, which is what we want. And then we got to account for our savings. So that's going to be minus O18. Because the way I'm making this is it is accounting how much, this should be how much money is left in your checkings account. So at the end of the month, how much money did you spend, which is depleting your checking account, and then how much money did you transfer into your savings accounts, right? Your savings or investing accounts. So that's also taking from your checking account. So you want everything to be balanced. You want to know all the money that went out. And that's why this is going to be lower and why you want to subtract your savings, because then you'll have your portfolio trackers to track that. And I am noticing another discrepancy. You see right here, my end balance is 4,878. And then right here, it's 5,169. So what's wrong? Well, I actually have an error down here. I have debt and other twice. It's because I didn't fully delete the ones that I didn't want. To me, I want to kind of move it into, from most important to least important. So if I just delete these, which is counting debt twice, there we go. Now we got that 5,169. So you got to make sure that you don't have duplicate cells, because if I write down debt here, it's going to count debt again. So I'll have it twice. So now everything's looking pretty good. We could even check if this is right, which it is. This is pretty simple. It's just we're taking these two and subtracting the two. So we don't need to add savings in because it's already added into this equation. And then if we click up here, same deal. It's taking those two. So this one is good. This one's now good. We can now add the one in the middle. So how did I do that? It's actually pretty simple. I just made a graph. So to do that, you go to Insert, Chart, hit OK. And what we want is a column chart, which is what we have selected. So what you want to do is highlight all of these. So you want to go to X-axis. And then even before that, because you're probably going to get an error, if you click on the window, go here and try to input this, you're not going to be able to click OK. It says one column required. It's a little glitch in Google Sheets. What you want to do is unmerge them. And unfortunately, you got to do it one by one like this, which is pretty tedious, but we only have to do this once, guys. So unmerge all of these. And once they're all unmerged, if we double click on this again to open this up, go back to our X-axis. Then if we select this, now we can hit OK, because now we're only picking up one range, which is what Google Sheets wants. Scroll down to Add Series, and we want our actual. So we're going to highlight all of that. Hit OK, and look at that. This is the chart that I had in the other one. Now, the only difference is I made the colors match. So if you double click on this, look at that. Your custom colors for this sheet is already in here to make life easy. So it was that. And let's double click on this, not the grid lines. We want the background. Where's the background? Sometimes you just kind of poke around. Here we go, background. We want it to be the same gray. So maybe it's this. No, that's too dark. There we go. That looks better. So we can bring this up. And I actually had the grid lines. I think we could delete them. Nope. So we got to change the grid lines as well. Here we go. To the same color. So they kind of blend in. And I think that's pretty much it. Maybe I made that bold. And maybe I made this bold as well, so it stands out. You know what? I think that's good enough. So then you could shrink this down, so then it kind of fits into what everything else is. So now this is just kind of messing around with it, so it's exactly the same. Okay, and the last thing to get rid of the actual like grayish border around it, double click. Go to chart style right up here, make this that lighter gray. And there we go. Now it should be good. Actually, one last thing. If you go to here, uncheck major grid lines as well. That just gets rid of everything. So there we go. Now it kind of matches. Last thing is kind of matching this. So highlight all of that. We want to make sure it's the same height. So highlight all of that, make that our lovely little gray. Whoops, not the text. The fill gray as well. And then C, so column C, I think we kind of want to move a little bit because this is in C. I want to make that a little bit bigger just so it fits. So this is just like formatting now, making sure everything kind of looks nice. The very last thing is having up top, we have our monthly budget. I actually expand this row, row 5. Expand that a bit. I'm going to take monthly budget. We're going to unmerge. I'm going to hit Control X and then go down to 5. And we actually want to be in C. And then paste that in. We could kind of tighten up 3, or we could probably delete 3. We'll keep it. So we could tighten up 3 like that. We got our monthly budget, hit Control C, go over to G, Control V, then go over to N, Control V. So instead of monthly budget, we're going to want monthly spendings. And this, I want to say monthly report. And guys, that is it. Besides just a few more maybe cosmetic repairs to it. Like in my other one, I think I deleted B or I deleted A, one of these. or I at least shrunk it a lot. Nah, maybe I didn't shrink it. But this is everything that you need right here. And it's just kind of futzing around with that last bit just to make it look all uniform. But now we have everything. This is the monthly budget, the proper monthly budget in my opinion, because we can account for savings. Here's all of our savings accounts. We can test it out. Let's pretend I put another $1,500 into TD Ameritrade. So if we do that and we go to summary, look at that. TD Ameritrade now went up to 3,000. My actual went up to 3,000. My end balance went down because that's where I'd be pulling that money. It'd be coming from there. So everything adjusts how it's supposed to. If we go to transactions, let's go to expenses just so you can see again. Let's say we had that really expensive dinner for $5,000. We will drop down restaurant and we will change this to food. We go to summary. You can see now I'm negative. I had to put on my credit card and I'm in bad shape and I spent way too much money on food and everything is down. I did not save any money at all. But again, that would never happen. I would never do something that foolish. But you can see all this is now up to date and you have a proper monthly budget tracker with savings because we're all about investing here. Guys, I hope you liked this video. If so, make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Comment if you have any questions. Check out all of my other content. Check out my Patreon. All of my trackers are on my Patreon as well. Join my Discord. You guys are great. As always, I will see you in the next one.